Yeah, you're right, it's just one up. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, let's start with Martin.
I'm Martín Itúrbide. I think I got the last presentation, so you already know me. So what I wanted to talk about today is my secret experiment, which the Hindenburg here it gives the expectations of the presentation.
Well, that's what you expect, huh?
Yeah.
A disaster like that?
Yeah, that were my experiments with OS2 warp, called X warp because the X I'm changing it for a letter of the alphabet. Okay, so I'm going to talk about what was the goal of the experiment. The goal was to open the can of worms. Yeah, when people tell me don't do that, okay, let's do it and see what happens. But let's do it on a controlled environment. And let's see what happens, let's see what goes wrong, and document what is going wrong about opening that kind of worm. And I wanted to try to experiment customizing OS2 Warp 4.52 in ways I wanted to do it and that can damage the OS. So I want to really go low and try to move things that shouldn't be moved. Okay? So the question is why? I want to experiment what customization level I can reach with the OS2 binaries about moving them around and see what they can do and cannot do. And learn more about the OS2 components and the files. Okay? And just because I want to, the same don't do that, let's do it and see what happens. Yeah? Okay? Some remarks about the experiment. The experiment was produced with OS2 Warp 4.52 with the latest fix packs from IBM. And the experiment was only limited, or the experiments were only limited to a virtual box gas machine. So it only happens and it only exists on a virtual environment. I didn't put it on real hardware because it will make it real hard if I screw OS2 on real hardware, how to revert it to see what I screw and move on from there. So with a virtual machine it was easy. Just back up the virtual machine. Okay, I broke it, I cannot recover it. Okay, I erase it and revert the file of the virtual machine, the virtual hard drive. And what I did is that each experiment name starts with a negative word to avoid confusion and high expectations. Okay, so I put a negative word on every experiment for people don't expecting too much, or trying to do that at home. Don't try to do this at home. So that is why I put in a negative word, and also I try to accommodate OS2 Warp to my idea, to my opinion of what it should be the user experience, and it's based on some article I wrote on 12/11. About comments and suggestions about the e-commerce station user experience. I used to write, I wrote an article about that, and there are some hard things to do of my suggestions, and some easy things to do. I try to do the easy ones, and how do I like for OS2 to be. Okay? So the first one was a warp. A stands for atrocious warp, okay? So a warp is an experiment of moving and reorganizing the files inside OS2 in a different way. And it will only work on a virtual machine, right? Okay? So the goal of the experiment was to reorganize the folder structure, trying not to break anything, just trying. Things got broken. And how do I do that? Just moving the directories, just moving, okay, why is this on the root? I'm going to move it right there. Why is this right here? I'm going to move it just like the way I like it. And I needed to change the config sys file and try to modification on the ini files so they can point to the right direction of the files. And I used to back up the virtual machine and revert it when I break things to try to see what goes wrong and how I can improve that things. Okay? So just to explain you the experience, this is just a basic OS2 Warp virtual machine. When you boot it, you see it just as a normal installation, and I just leave everything that is from the default installation there. So this is where this is how I manage the hard drive and how I move the folders in the structure that I like. What I did is just try to reduce all the folders that we have on the root and trying to reassign them to different places, trying not to break anything. I didn't succeed with IBM COM because it seems to have some things hard-coded and some stuff breaks. In future experiments, I actually move it, but completely break it, but try to find some replacement, and the things that works, I was able to make it work in different folder. So I try to have a more clean directory structure, and well, all this stuff is still there. That is the things that OS2 Warp installs on the root, okay? Next thing, what I did is, where did I put all the stuff that OS2, that is part of the OS2 systems? So I created a folder on OS2 called System, and I moved everything there, okay? So what does this thing do? The IBM GSK, for example, nobody knows exactly what does it do, but it's something about encryption that is used by DB2 for databases. Nobody uses it, but say, hey, don't move it, I'm going to move it. So I'm going to move it and try to reorganize all the structure, okay? Multi-protocol transfer services broke. When I open it, it showed just a blank screen, so I cannot change the network adapter. But well, the network adapter was already configured, so it keeps working. I just cannot add a new one or change the protocols. But that is one of the things that broke. And just for you to check, the trick was only moving the configs and just pointing to the new locations, which is almost OS2 system and just moving everything else, okay? The trick was changing the configs and also changing the ini files with some tools, okay? What got broken? The multimedia system got broken. I didn't make more efforts to try to fix it. I hope to, well, on the next experiment, I hope I'm going to be able to fix it on a different location, but it's kind of hard. I really don't know what has hard-coded there. The language folder was, you cannot move it originally because it has the Unicode sys driver, has the path hard-coded there. So I use an X editor to change it and hard-code the new path for that component. But I was able to move it, but you need to change that. And well, as I showed you, MPTS configuration tool is not working. So something got worked, but the system still runs, okay? So once I got a warp more or less stable, I think, okay, let's move to the next experiment, which is B-warp, which stands for broken warp, okay? Broken warp is based on the other virtual machine, A-warp. And the goal of this experiment was to create a reduced version of OS2 warp on VirtualBox. So this time I'm going to start to cut things of OS2 and see how I can reduce the size. So I need to set some goal for this experiment. So what is necessary for this experiment? So the OS needs to boot. It has to load PM and WPS. It has to load the graphic user interface. It has to run command line applications and presentation manager applications. It has to have the ability to run Rex scripts. DHCP should be working. It should be ping Google, for example, but it should be working with the internet. So I need the ping command also. I had to remember not to delete the ping command. Okay? And I wanted to have CD support and HPF support because it will not boot without. And I keep there just e.x and warp center. And the rest of the OS will be gone as non-vital. I understand. Some people say, okay, what is non-vital? I think that the OS, for example, for the experiment is not vital, and Windows 2.1 was not vital. So I'm just going to crop it off for this experiment.
What about solitaire?
What?
What about solitaire?
Crop it out. All the crop it out.
God.
Everything is gone. So when I start to crop things, well, I have to remove things. It breaks, it broke. So I had to repair the virtual machine, see how to keep erasing things without breaking the virtual machine. At what point it was completely slimmed down, the experiment, the virtual machine. But I got this error on boot always. When I remove it, dos.sys, I always get this error, but I can move on, okay? This error, I'm not sure, I don't remember which other driver complains that the DOS environment is not there. Yeah, I don't remember which one was it. I had to check well, when I do these experiments, I also document on the wiki. So I found some issues and I put it on the wiki. So it's all documented on the OS2 World wiki. So it just complained, but it's just move on. So this is how VWarp looks like. I have only left the system and programs and the shredder. There's there and warp center. Okay, so it works fine. This is all the system that you look at the last picture and you see that it has a lot of stuff. I contributed all to this. Oh, I didn't talk about how they structure some things, because when you see all the DLLs of OS2, you don't have separated the presentation managers from WPS. You don't actually know which file is from which component of OS2. So I try to identify each of the files, and I document each of the files I was looking at on the ADM2 wiki, and I try to separate what is from presentation manager, what is from SOM, what is from WPS. It keeps working. It's quite crazy, and it grows the config sys path to a very long thing. Maybe it's not something very useful, but I managed also to separate the components, and it keeps working. It keeps booting. It may be hard to change the resolution, for example, but it keeps booting and working, right? So, for example, first, what's the name of the thing?
First failure start technology.
Yeah, I needed some things of that. I need a DLL of that, and I put it there. The BD driver, IBM.com is still there, but I try to cut all the programs from there except Ping, because it's part of the project. And this is how I managed to trim, to cut OS2 just to some basic components and system components. And inside OS2 I still have the DLLs, some of the DLLs that you cannot move. I cannot remember the name right now, but I have all the structure of files documented on the wiki. And what else do I have? And I have the drivers, etc. And I have completely trim or simplify the folders on the root. Okay, just the programs that I installed to tweak the ini files and to tweak also some of the associations with files. I also removed some of the workplace classes that are not non-vital according to me. So I removed some of the vital. For example, you cannot drag an URL and have the icon of the URL. Say, okay, that was part of another DLL, so I remove it. Say, no, it's not vital, it keeps booting. So I remove some of the classes, and I need to unregister the classes from the desktop, okay? Clean ini is very good also to reduce the size of the ini files, and some other tools, and Snap, the freeware version of Snap that I used to be on the first image of VWarp, okay? These are the games are gone. The games are gone. Applications are gone. Installed software only I have this from some ini tools and Snap, and the tools that I use it to try to slim down the version, slim this experiment, and try to clean the ini files, and also try to clean the WorldPlay shell with some classes I didn't want. Okay? And this is the system menu. As you can see, some are gone. Some other WorldPlay shell functions are gone. And since I didn't find it viable for the OS to boot. Okay? And what is also gone? The OS and Windows 3.1. So I managed to reduce a warp from, well, a huge size to like 61 megabytes of size, and completely reduce a lot of files. All zone files, bitmaps, everything. I kind just reduce it to this size. Okay? And what got broken? Multimedia is still broken. I just wanted to keep it there. I didn't remove it completely because I have maybe someday someone will help me to make it work again, to work with multimedia. Like I explained it before, removing DOS.sys make the boot process to complain, but it still boots. And there should be a lot more things that doesn't work, but I didn't care for this experiment. I didn't find anything else that it may not work. Okay, so I needed to move to the next experiment. The next experiment is C-warp. C-warp stands for crappy warp, and it's based on the last one, on B-warp, on broken warp. So A-warp was an experiment focused on reorganizing directories. B-warp was an experiment focused on cropping OS2 things from the image, and C-warp is based on replacing things from OS2 for freeware and open source software. Okay, this is what I have a shoe with the Mike brand, not Nike, not Nike. Mikey, yeah, not Nike, Mike.
Mikey.
Okay.
Suddenly altered swoosh.
So C-warp will start being an experiment of really changing the components of OS2. Okay. So for this experiment, there were some goals. I made some light changes on the file structure for directories, very light changes. I tried to include freeware and open source software, everything I can find on the internet that can replace components of OS2. And I had included freeware or open source replacement of IBM files. If I can find, for example, an IBM driver that used to be on the DDK, that is, well, it's not open source, but the source code was available on the DDK license, and someone compiled it and released it as freeware, I just change it there. Yeah, it may be sold, maybe it's something outdated, but if I put it there and it boots, it works. Okay? That was my goal experiment. So here are some examples of the use replacement. I use for OS2, OS3 DLLs and Excel replacement. They have set some binaries that can be worked as replacement. Also, WinBrew helped me with some experimental device drivers replacement. And there was the OS box, VLC, system load. I tried to put also Qt applications, PM applications, also the QS init loader to replace the OS2 loader, and also Danny's driver, and everything I can find, and everything I wanted to test. Yeah.
What's that teasing you're talking
Oh
about?
no, sorry, it's almost irrelevant. It's a Qt text editor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there are a lot of text editors. Sorry, it's not really relevant on the list, but just try different things and pronouns to just pack C-warp with different. So I see if it works. See if it keeps running or not. Okay? I have a full list of each software I included to C-warp on the OS2 World Wiki, which is a long list, and I try to Everything that I tried it and put it on the image, I just go on the wiki and change it almost live, okay? So this is, oh, it's very dark. Well, I changed the boot logo, it says on the warp, okay? And this is how the, X workplace is also part of the component. So I also changed warp center for the X center, and it's X workplace also installed on this image. And this is how it looks. I tried to remove some, to change some of the icons, and well, I just get those two system icons there, okay? This is how it looks now. I try to trim, on those experiments, I trim a lot of the files, and I also created a new folder called warp, so I can put the non-IBM binaries that replace the binary that should be on the OS2 folder, okay? That can be moved also, because there are things that are hard-coded to be on the boot process, that are hard-coded to load from the OS2 directory, okay? So I created the warp directory. I tried to reduce this to the lower side. I was not able to remove this driver, which is part of Snap. The IO32.sys driver is part of Snap. I'm not really sure what it does, but if I remove it, Snap will not work, will not load the video drivers. The rest I was able to move it. This is the loader for QS unit. This is my logo, and well, the kernel that is the one from IBM, okay? This is how the warp folder looks like. I try to organize the structure almost similar to my last experiment. And on the system, I try to include all more open source applications like ALVM, okay? A nice switcher. I try to put some applications like, this is part of the new OS called CWARP, which is only an experiment, okay? So these are like the components that work from the OS. I try to put Regina, but Regina is an open source Rex library replacement, but it didn't work yet. I was not able to replace the Rex libraries from OS2 to use Regina and remove the original IBM Rex library. I was not able to do that on this experiment. Maybe in the future, I don't know. So I try to put some things there. This is a new structure. Also, I try to make the home directory with a username and try to put different folders from documents, downloads, music, photos, download, just like some other OS has. And I have this config folder. This config folder is, I don't know if you have seen all the things that were migrated from the Unix world. They put a lot of things on the home folder. For each application that it runs, it puts some files, it generates some files, and generates some configuration files. So I create these config folders. In other words, all the crap goes there. Yeah, all the unique things that are generated goes to the config folder, just to not see it here. Okay. And this is how it looks like. I put the OS box as a replacement from the OS. I try to, well, there are all the X workplace icons now on the system setup, and this is how it looks now. The programs now, I also install RPM, and install all the bitwise stuff from the Unix world, and the libraries, and that keeps working. The packet there, ArcanoOS package manager, is also installed and is working. And this is for an example of Firefox running, the older Firefox. I didn't try the new one. The older Firefox, a PM application, Lucid, which is also a PM application, and ScreenGrab, which is a Qt application. So they all running fine, and they are not complaining. Okay. Oh, sorry. Oops, the back is not. And also, like I told you, the Arcanos package manager and all the RPM structure is working, but I didn't want to put it on the root. As you see, I don't have it on the root. I put it on programs on FHS, which means Five Hierarchical Systems, which is the name of the Unix or the line of the structure for all these folders, which are not intuitive. It's just how someone invented, and some people even on the Linux community didn't like FHS, which is like, I don't know where they come up with the names. They call it user, local, blah blah blah, all that long structure names, which it have some sense, it have a meaning, but it's so long that it lost what it was supposed to be. Okay, so I move it there and it keeps working. They told me, do not move this because maybe some Linux, Unix programs are hard-coded with the path, for the moment everything is working. So I move it without any important issue. So it was an interesting experiment moving also this folder and do not breaking anything. Okay, because it's moving like the Unix root directory. Okay. Things that got broken, it seems that I removed some. Oh, since I removed some stuff from the desktop, like WP assistance, because I don't use it anymore, so I think it's not non-vital. So I get some errors when some applications try to create a workplace shell classes or workplace shapes icons on the desktop. Sometimes it shows some errors, but it still creates the icons. But according to where it's pointing, it will show some errors. But that is what is mostly broken. Some of the outputs of the experiment are that Wim Brule's experimental device driver are very interesting. He helped me out creating some of the drivers of OS2 in assembly. He said there are no full drivers, but they say just for booting, just for what you need, here's what is going to work. And they create like a little driver that replaces some of the files for OS2, which is very interesting. It also helps me with the ADM2 wiki project. I don't know if you know the portal that is for development resources, for software development resources. But I have there something that I try to document file by file of OS2 inside that wiki. So it also helped me to learn more about the files and also to create more documentation of that wiki. And it has been also fun to test replacement from IBM binaries and see how they work. Talking about some of the IBM drivers and binaries, for example, I found that Lewis recompiled a print 1.6 driver some long ago, and he released it on hubs as freeware. So I got that one and replaced the IBM one with that can be freely redistributed. Okay, so it has been interesting to find what is already compiled and freeware against what are the IBM binaries. Maybe that print 1.6 driver is old, is outdated, but it keeps working for booting the OS. Okay? And also I have a wish list which I try for future projects. I only have these 3 projects, which is on the OS2 World Wiki. Okay? It's a page called Require Replacement, where I list each of the files that I require the replacement or that I have replaced. For example, the OS2 kernel will require lots of works to be cloned. It's the kernel. Okay, so it's marked on red. And I have found replacement for example, for checkdisk.com. I found a replacement for OS3. I can read. Well, some checkdisk from JFS that also have a replacement from FreeJFS that keeps working. Well, some text files from Snap. So I keep marking it how hard. If it's something that is not, I don't have a replacement, but it will be simple to get a replacement like a font I just mark it in white, okay? And if I already replace it, I just mark it in green. And if lots to work, for example, those called one.dll is the CPI component of OS2, which works very close to the kernel. It will require a lot of work to clone and mark it on red. So that way I try to find the replacement that I'm missing from the project. So anyone would like to see this list and say, okay, this file is very easy to replace. I don't know why you haven't replaced, because it's so simple, just let me know. Because there is a list of files I really would like to try to replace. So from that point, I'm trying to move more to the open source freeware side of OS2 and learning more about the operating system. Okay? So, like always, my final request for everyone on the internet here. When collaborating online, remember will read on law. That is, don't be a dick. We have some issues on the online community that, yeah, people have different opinions of what they do, but they push sometimes too hard. And they keep naming people and say, okay, let's keep it cool. You have one opinion, you have another, let's move on. And that's all. So let's try to be more cool on online interactions, also for the internet people that is watching me, okay? And let's remember Will Wheaton law, which is, well, I don't know if you know Will Wheaton is from the Star Trek, the Next Generation TV show. And he used to complain that gaming online was a very, very harmful experience because people were talking about your mother, your sister, and say, no, let's work, let's have fun, and don't be a dick. And even that his law was initially for gaming, it really fits on every online interaction we have with other people. Okay? And these are the links for my experiment. I used to document everything about this experiment on the OS2 World Wiki, which I have these 3 experiments, A-warp, B-warp, C-warp. And this is my other article about comment and suggestion about the e-commerce station user experience. So this is, yeah, I think, thanks to all the sponsors, the people in the community has paid me for being here, has chipped in for the ticket and the hotel, yeah. And also thank you for listening. I don't know if you have any questions.
How do you get started coming to these works every year kind of thing? How did you get involved also?
Yeah, well, I started on the workshop, I don't remember the year, it was 5 years ago on San Luis. When someone say, when I was requesting online, hey, why someone just came to workshop and film and document and video stream. At that moment it was possible to video stream very easily on the internet. So I say, why nobody's coming there and do that? Just say, you don't get there and do it yourself? He said, well, I don't have the money to be there. Okay, let's everybody to be. Okay, I'm going to put a PayPal account and let's see how much money we can raise.
Yeah.
And actually we went okay. The next year I also request for money, and for the moment the community really wants to see the stream. That is the real thing. So they send me money for me to come here and put the cameras and record the presentations. Yeah. Any other questions? Well, the experiments are, like I told you, are very radical, are not for doing it yourself at home. Well, you can do it on a virtual machine. That is the good things about virtual machine. You can do crazy experiments, and you can just erase it, revert it, delete it. There's no issue with the virtual machine. Instead, we are used to the bare metal hardware when it's hard to install things, and if you change something, you need to boot with the diskette, with the CD-ROM, and you need to fix that, and it takes time. On a virtual machine, it's very quick. So this is what, for example, what developers are doing. since the development environments are sometimes heavy and can be broken, they prefer to have their machine with the OS and on a virtual machine the development environment. So I use that idea to create different versions of OS2s and try to crop it, to kick it, and see what happens. Okay? So the good thing is that it keeps booting. Okay?
Were there any injuries?
Well,
Any injuries in this
no,
project?
no animals were harmed or on the making of these experiments or used.
Mark, what virtual machine do you use? And I presume you're using it within the OS2 operating system. What virtual machine do you use?
I'm using VirtualBox.
VirtualBox.
And I'm using also, I'm using Windows as a host and
Okay.
also try it on OS2 as a host. Yeah.
Now, what version of VirtualBox are you using?
Ooh, it's
It's 5 something, right?
yeah.
Or is not the old, really old ones?
No, not the old one, it's the 5, it's the 5.
And you've got, I think it's 506, you get 506 like working in OS2, right? That's
It's-
kind of where I stalled some months back.
Yeah, I don't remember the last one that was ported by
Paul, wasn't it?
Valerius.
Okay,
But Valerius
Valerius, yeah.
port with bitwise port like
Yeah.
the last version I tried it and it worked.
Okay, yeah, I think it's a 506, I think. Okay, okay.
But I also use it on the Windows machine, so at work I need to use Windows, so I have it there on VirtualBox also.
Yeah, so I worked on that 7, 8 months ago, and I ended up stalling because of time issues, so.
Yeah.
Good to hear you work.
But also if I don't know, well, the people that have some limitations with hardware and cannot install Arc OS, and they need to use Windows or Linux, okay, just get VirtualBox, put it Arc OS, put it OS2 and work on, just experiment there, okay? Anything else? Okay, that's all. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.